Welcome back to Talking Dragon Age, the show where I talk about Dragon Age. Today we're recapping some Elven theories. We'll start with the Ancient Elves and Elvenon, then get into some Elven characters, and wrap up with the Modern Elves and the Dalish. First theory is that the Black City is Arlathan. We know the Blight was being used in Elvenon. Solas specifically claims the Blight is not something one smugly outsmarts, and that no one is capable of safely using Blight magic. And it seems to me he's speaking from experience. So I believe the Black City is Arlathan, and is also where the Evanuris are sealed, physically within the Fade. The fact that it's there physically is why it can be seen from anywhere in the Fade, and the fact that it's blighted is why spirits and demons avoid it. The problem with this theory is, why didn't the Elven gods escape when Corypheus and company broke in? I have more theories about that, but I'll save it for the recap on the Blight. Also, the city itself sits atop a rock formation. This leads me to believe that when Solas sealed it away, it was ripped out of the ground. I believe it was done in the Frostback Mountains, specifically where Skyhold stands. Either that or Lake Calenhad. That has to do with some Avar legends that line up suspiciously well with what we know of the ancient Elven conflict. Well, Skyhold is known as place where the sky was held back. In other ancient Elven sources, the sky is commonly used as a synonym for the Fade in the time before the Veil. Next, we have theories on the Evanuris and Forgotten Ones. Gillenon was nuts, given Horrors of Hormak. Also, I never mentioned this in any of my other videos, but I've heard it theorized that Gillenon is Solas' sister. There is not a lot of evidence for it, just some suspicious wording. I talk a little about it in a video I recently did with Lady Sullivan. The other gods, all we have are some ancient Elven sources, watered down Dalish legends, and Solas' word, which is also not exactly reliable. I have dedicated videos for each of these, so I'm just going to go over the ones that we have a decent amount of information for. In some legends, Solas and June are siblings, and in other legends, they're married. We don't know which, if either, is true. It's possible that it was both. But many of the Elven gods are said to be children of Mythal and Elgar'nan. Given certain legends, I get the feeling Andruil and Falon Din at least are. Possibly Durthamin as well, given he is often said to be Falon Din's twin brother. The relationship between Durthamin and Falon Din is one of my favorite dynamics in the Elven pantheon. In the oldest sources, they're never named directly in relation to one another, only being referred to as the other's shadow or reflection. It's speculated their bond was not familial nor romantic, but some other form of close bond that we lack context to comprehend. My theory is that they were bitter rivals, perhaps with a mutual respect, like the rivalry system in DA2 kind of, but still, rivals. As far as theories go, there's not much more to say. But I love Durthamin, and I hope to get more of him in the next game. And then there's Andruil, who went hunting for the Forgotten Ones in the Void, carried back madness and a plague, and Mythal stopped her. Lots of theories here about the Blight and Red Lyrium and whatnot. And then there's the Forgotten Ones. We know extremely little about them. Gelderon seems to have purposefully fallen into obscurity, in order to gather power while avoiding notice. That's extremely cool. Other than that, there's not much to go on. One codex entry talks about a god of pestilence, possibly the Blight. But given the Dalish misinterpreting legends plus Evanuris propaganda, it's possible whatever god became known as a god of pestilence was actually a healer. It's also possible they were truly evil, who knows. Questions remain about what happened to them. Are they sealed in the Void like the legends say? It's certainly possible. I'll talk more about the Void in my summary for the Blight. Oh, Malvernus. This guy is an optional boss fight in Legacy. He has two forms, a humanoid figure in dark robes, and a spectral dragon. He liquefied entire dwarven taigs. The might of the dwarves couldn't kill him, but they managed to imprison him. This guy's name means the Pestilent One. It's entirely possible this guy is a Forgotten One. Either way, I doubt he's dead. It's possible he is the sinner mentioned in this codex entry about a sinner who stole knowledge of how to become a dragon. That would be a really cool callback. Before we move on to the modern day, I want to talk about two major wars in ancient times. The first is a war Solas mentions where the Evanuris started as generals. After the war, they became respected elders, then kings, then took the title of gods. Who was this war against? I believe it was against the old gods, with a later war against the Titans after the Evanuris were already established. This is because Yavanna, a daughter of Flemeth, speaks of a time before the Veil that dragons ruled the skies. Also, they're imprisoned underground by some unknown magic and stuff. Who put them there? The Chantry would have you believe it was the Maker, but the Evanuris seem more likely. I even theorized they made some alliance with the Titans in order to do this, explaining why it takes so long to dig through rock in order to reach them. But I guess relations with the Titans fell apart at some point, because the Evanuris later fought them and mined their bodies for Lyrium. Mythal specifically struck a Titan down. I also think Elgranon made a statue of himself out of a dead Titan. Respect. So I had forgotten to mention this until I started editing this video, but I want to quickly talk about a possible relationship between Gilinan and Durthamin. There's this mural we see in a few places in Inquisition. The white figure is most likely Gilinan, and the figure behind her is either a bear or a wolf, but certainly looks more like a bear to me. The bear is Durthamin's chosen animal. Question is the bear attacking her, or is it protecting her? Also, there's the Codex entry about the sinner who took wings at the urging of Gilinan, but belonged to Durthamin. It's possible the two were working together, or Gilinan was trying to sow discord or undermine Durthamin. Or maybe the sinner was lying, or was simply inspired by Gilinan's rise to power. So yeah, that's about it. So I want to quick talk about Shartan, Andraste's elven companion. There are many theories about him, from the fans and in the world. Some suggest Shartan was a title, rather than a single person. Chantry artwork depicts him holding a key, which is weird. I can't think of any mention of a key in the Chant of Light. On the other hand, Solas is a bald elf, and the anchor he created is also often thought of as a key. Also, Solas tells a story of meeting a spirit who had once been the king of every land Solas discovered. Hybris is an ancient demon in DA2, and pretty much the only thing we know about him is that he holds pieces of every fool who ever held a throne. Also, he drops Shartan's sword. So, yeah. There are some problems with the theory, though. Solas did not have the anchor at the time of Andraste. If he did, he probably would have torn down the veil back then. And then, also, why did he sleep for 1,000 years, help Andraste, and then sleep for another 1,000 years? I mean, there are explanations, power levels and stuff. You can draw your own conclusions. I'm not sure where I stand on it. So moving on to the modern day, let's talk about Serra. A lot of people like to equate her with Andruil, but I don't agree, at least not entirely. That theory comes to similarities with her tarot card, some suspiciousness in her behavior, and possibly special powers, and that her greatest fear is the Nothing, which most people take to mean the Void, where Andruil was known to have gone mad. To me, Serra is special. There's something going on with her. But I think what it is relates to a small, painted box, found in the first enchanter's office and for some unknown reason delivered to the Friends of Red Jenny, and is something Serra specifically mentions. Maybe an Easter egg, but I find it very suspicious that the first enchanter himself had this box. I want to know what was inside it. I mean, it totally could relate to Andruil, but whatever it is inside Serra scares her. So next up is Felasan from the Masked Empire. Very popular character. He was an agent of Solas whose duty would have been to gain access to the Eluvians, but he chose instead to give Briala a chance to use them. Solas thought this was stupid, so he killed him. But Felasan was a dreamer, someone with special powers regarding the Fade. Solas is too. When a dreamer kills someone in the Fade, they can die in real life too, instead of just waking up. But when a dreamer dies in the Fade, they become Tranquil. So it is totally possible that Felasan survived and is just Tranquil. It's entirely possible Solas didn't know that would happen, since Dreamers dying in the Fade was never common. And I'm pretty sure Tranquility didn't exist before the Veil. So the rest of the Wolfpack, which is my name for Solas' spy network. There's not much more to say, honestly. It occurred to me that some are probably shapeshifters, so if you see any birds watching you in the next game, watch out. I'm sure there are some among the Dalish and Qunari. Let's talk about the Dalish quick. I think some of them are going to deny anything Solas says and continue worshipping their gods. Others are going to believe him, but still fight against him. And others are going to join him. There's going to be division among the Dalish. But we know some clans are preparing to fight the invading Qunari. So, whatever the case, I'm interested. Last thing I want to mention is that I think the Elvish language itself is magic. Yeah. Also, Gillenon created griffins. Oh, and this monkey toad statue thing is probably Elven. So I think that's about it. There are some things I didn't mention, only because there's so little to go on. I just wanted to hit on the major points that I thought could impact the Veilguard. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like, and remember, Tala Nadas.